friends, we're back. Your favorite podcast show of the week. It's Location Weekly. It's episode number 582. We are recording on August the 16th. Brianna, how are you? You're back home.
I am home for the moment, and I'm good. Glad to be back home. Had a nice trip down south, and now I'm just gearing up to head to the British Virgin Islands for a few days. So very excited about that. I've never been. So yeah, I'm good. I'm like trying to knock everything out, so I can really enjoy and disconnect for a few days. A real vacation.
You'll love it. I've not spent a lot of time there. I've stopped there on a cruise and kind of hung out at the beach, which was beautiful. But yeah, I think you'll love it. Of course, you'll love
Of course I will.
it. Yeah, awesome.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it just kind of, it feels like the summer is winding down and just wanting to cram in, every last little thing that you can before it's kind of back to school and September's here and all of that. So hopefully have some, fun things lined up in the next couple of weeks. I have to, the long weekend there, before, everybody goes back to school and whatnot, I have to go to a wedding now. So that'll be fun. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
lots of celebrating happening, huh?
going on. So yeah. All right. Well, we have four stories for you this week, as per usual, and I'll let Brianna kick us off.
All right. Well, over the past couple of weeks, some Best Buy stores have been set up as temporary Pokestops. And no, not Pokeball, but Pokestops like part of Niantic's Pokemon Go. So if you've been living under a rock, this is an augmented reality, app mobile game that lets these players catch and fight these digital monsters based on their real world location. So for the past couple of weeks, Pokemon Go trainers, which are the game players, were able to visit. There was over 800 Best Buy stores that they turned into these Pokestops, and they could, collect essential items like Pokeballs, Pokemon eggs, all the things that apparently are necessary to play this great game. And they also use this as an opportunity to bring attention to the latest collection of their trading cards, which I don't know if your kids ever got into the trading cards, Asif, but my oldest is starting to be interested in it, but I'm not sure she understands how it works. I certainly don't. I can tell you that for the trading cards place, but I think this is an interesting collaboration. We've seen Pokemon do this with McDonald's previously, right? Where they drove people in. They had specific levels and games that they had access to when they were in that area. So the same thing with, Best Buy. I think it's a smart way to bring more people into the retail location, get them access probably to those trading cards or buying other pieces of equipment that perhaps they're interested in as gamers. So yeah, I mean, nothing groundbreaking here, but I think that this is a great campaign. And it just wrapped up 2 days ago. So maybe we'll hear more about how it went.
Yeah, no, I've always been a fan of Niantic and Pokemon Go and kind of what they're trying to do there. I think it's a great way to bring a younger audience into physical retail environments by setting up these Pokestops. And obviously, this is not the first execution. I remember when they first announced this platform a few years back. Sephora and other brands were on board with this. And so I do think it's a good traffic driver, and I like that Best Buy is, sort of, leveraging it that way. I'm always, of the notion that, okay, it's good to get the traffic there, but, is there, a strong, sort of revenue conversion, piece, tied to this. So, and, if you can find these items there and maybe you can, then purchase the actual cards in the store and things like that, then I think that makes a lot of sense. And I'm like you, I'm kind of illiterate when it comes to Pokemon Go, or sort of Pokemon cards and the trading cards and that piece of it itself. Although I will say, if your kids are getting into it, Amriana, hang on to whatever it is they have, because a friend of mine, their son, just sort of was is older now, was going through cards that he had for a while, and took them in, like, to a store to get, sort of trade in and valued. And one of the cards alone was worth like 8 grand. So I was like, okay.
The new baseball cards, right?
I
We
was like, 8 grand
collected baseball
for a
cards and gum, and
Pokemon card.
now
Okay. So make sure your kids don't throw them out or rip them up or anything like that. So there you go.
preserve. I got it.
Yeah, yeah. So all right. So that's a cool little story. On to our second one now. So we're going to jump across the ocean here to Taiwan, and Family Mart, which is a very large convenience store retail chain based there in Taiwan. So, like a 7-Eleven type of environment, is currently testing a smart retail electric vehicle. So essentially, what we're talking about here is a convenience store on wheels. They're testing this. It's called Fami Mobi, and they're testing it out at the Southern Taiwan Science Park. And the offerings, through this particular convenience store on wheels, include Southeast Asian foods and a self-checkout system. So again, we've seen these types of experiments before, mostly in China. This is the first one apparently in Taiwan. The putting together this vehicle, there were 7 months of collaboration between 15 electric car suppliers in Taiwan, all working together on this. And so it's the first electric vehicle outfitted with a convenience store. So I like that. And according to Family Mart president, this is something that they're going to, extend through a number of different locations in the main cities. So Taijiang National Park, Yuang Island, and some other attractions will all be getting this Fami Mobi vehicle there. And the other thing that was kind of interesting is, so they're timing sort of the availability of the vehicle and the products to, the shifts that people are working in the science park and other areas, and what their sort of interests are in terms of products. So the vehicle will carry nearly 100 merchandise items or SKUs, and we'll introduce Southeast Asian cuisine to cater to a lot of migrant workers that are there at the science park. So people who maybe don't ordinarily eat Southeast Asian cuisine, and kind of introduce them to that, as well as obviously all the normal convenience products that they carry. So it's and they're doing all sorts of other tests, automatic sort of grocery, shelf, kind of Amazon Go type of stuff, and app-based checkout and payments and all that type of stuff. So I think it's kind of cool. I think it's interesting. We're certainly seeing more and more of these automated checkouts, or bringing the store to where the people are, type of environments across the world. And we have our first electric mobile convenience store in Taiwan.
Yeah, not too much to add there. I mean, I do think we are obviously seeing more and more of this. We're seeing more, vehicle automation, checkout automation. It makes me think of all the jobs that people have today that perhaps are not going to exist in the future. But I think that as far as convenience goes, and the thoughtfulness that they have put into who, where, when, like what they want, is very powerful. And I think that we're just going to continue to see more and more iterations of this for sure. So yeah. So staying on the same topic though, of automated vehicles, this is a pretty big one, is that driverless taxis are a thing of now officially in China. So Baidu was granted a license to commercially and offer these fully driverless robo taxis, what they're calling them, and the services on public open roads. So they're calling this Apollo Go, and that's Baidu's autonomous ride-hailing service. So now they can collect fares for these robo taxi rides, and this is done completely without human drivers in the car. So they're starting in 2 cities, in Chongqing and Wuhan, which are, 2 of China's largest mega cities. And they just unveiled the car they'll be using, which is called the Apollo RT6. And it's an all-electric car. production ready model. It's got a detachable steering wheel, retails for about 37 grand, which is, a very cost effective vehicle. So the CEO of Baidu was saying that this really enables them to deploy thousands of these autonomous vehicles across China. And they're also moving towards, a place where the cost of a robo taxi will be half of what taxis cost today, which is, incredible for moving people around. And then they're very, very ambitious with their goals in terms of expansion here. So they're looking to expand to more than 300 stations by the end of this year. And their goal is to expand Apollo Go operations into 65 cities across China by 2025 and 100 cities by 2030. So, some really big numbers that they're shooting for. And in terms of safety, they have noted that there's a proven track record of over 16 million miles of road testing that's been accumulated over the last 9 years with 0 traffic accidents. So that's that's a little bit, I would say, encouraging. And as a mother to 2 young daughters, I'm like hopeful that we can have this for my kids as well. By the time they're driving age. But I think this is really exciting. And I love the fact that it is driving down the cost of taxis, that they're able to deploy this at scale. I think there's going to be some hesitation or nervousness, maybe not in China, but certainly here in North America, to be riding in a completely autonomous taxi. But who knows? I mean, this is the start, so we'll see how this grows. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is exciting, right? I think it's, for me, what stands out about this is the scale that they're talking about, deploying this, tens of thousands of these robo taxis in the country, getting to 300 stations by the end of the year. Already got 5, running in each of the 2 cities that you mentioned. And I like that it's, all electric vehicles, as well, sort of from a climate perspective. I think that's a good thing. I think that, typically when you're talking about taxi rides too, they're fairly short run. So, it sort of lends itself nicely to, an electric vehicle. For me, the other piece of this story is, anytime you're talking about a driverless, vehicle, it sort of opens up the door to what does that mean in terms of marketing and advertising opportunities, right? Because if you're not driving a vehicle and you don't have to be focused on the road and the wheel, you're essentially sitting as a passenger, in a vehicle and have time to consume ad content. So I think it changes the game a little bit for how we interact with things like out of home, or in vehicle, screens that can push content to us. Maybe we're playing Pokemon Go, while we're in the robotaxi, things like that. So, I think there are a lot of opportunities there from a future revenue and monetization point of view on top of the taxi fares themselves. But I'm with you. I think like one of the coolest things about all of this is that they can do this at a scale and a cost point where the fares are lower than a traditional fare, and I think that's really interesting, especially in a time of hyperinflation that we're in right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, on to our final story now. So there's a company out there called Calibrate with a K, and they are a location intelligence software company headquartered in the UK, but with offices all over the world. And they have launched a new competitive insights offering. So basically, providing their customers with a real-time view of consumer footfall around a particular location or POI or business that belongs to their client, be it a retailer, a restaurant, or what have you. And then help those businesses understand how often people are going there and where they're going, sort of before and after, and cross shopping patterns and things like that. So not unique in the offering itself, but from what I can gather about Calibrate and its extensive history and customer base, probably something that is a nice add-on offering that they can bring to their existing customers and open up some new capabilities for them. So I like that. As I kind of dug into learning a little bit more about this company, they're a company that has been around for a long time, but has grown primarily through acquisitions. So back in 2020, they acquired Trade Area Systems, and then shortly after that, acquired Intellytics, and then eSight last year. So, and this is on the backs of numerous other acquisitions in the years previous. They're very strong in the fuel convenience business, so gas stations, and providing insights to that industry. Have a lot of integration there on the POS side and sort of the data that's going on around that space. So I can see how having cross shopping and footfall data layered in on top of that can be a nice value add. I should point out, because it's important to this new offering, that the competitive location intelligence piece is powered by data from NEAR, and NEAR is obviously a location-based marketing association member company, and so they're processing about 1.6 billion unique user IDs across 70 million locations in 44 countries. And that seems to be a good fit because, from what I understand, Calibrate is very much a global operator with operations in India and Japan and across North America and Europe. So seems like a good fit for their clients and a nice new offering. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we know of NEAR. I had not heard of Calibrate before this article came out, honestly. And yeah, I mean, I think my sentiment, honestly, is just wait and see with location data. There's just so many things that are quietly happening in that industry right now, and I'm just kind of taking note and paying attention to where that goes. Between privacy legislation and just the probably coupling or merging of lots of companies changes. I think there's been some recent probably layoffs and downsizing of several larger companies in the location space recently. So I think it's interesting to pay attention to and, see like what is the capacity to continue at that scale with that amount of location data to provide really great services. So definitely, I think there's benefit to this solution, but the longevity of it to me still remains something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair comment, and it's a good segue to reminding people. So we're bringing back our physical conferences now that sort of the pandemic has generally lifted. So Retail Loco will be taking place in person in Atlanta, October 26th and 27th. And the reason I want to bring that up, if you haven't got your ticket yet, go get a ticket. But in terms of the themes this year, looking at post-pandemic recovery, looking at things like the labor shortages affecting the retail and restaurant industries, and the metaverse and all of that. But I think there's certainly a lot of discussion that's going to happen at the conference this year about these changes in privacy rules and what does it mean for location data and things like that. And I know one of our keynote speakers that I'm happy to announce is Wesley Rhodes, who's VP of Technology Transformation at Kroger. Will be there kicking off the conference. And I know he's going to address some of those things very closely, and so we're excited about that. And I think companies like Calibrate and others need to be there to kind of address what they're doing in this space and interact with others. So looking forward to that. So again, October 26th, 27th, retaillow.co is the website, and we'd love to see you all there.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that's it, everybody. That's our show for this week. 4 stories there. You've been listening and watching episode number 582 of Location Weekly. Thank you so much for your time. Please reach out if you have story ideas or feedback for us. And I do want to give a quick shout out to the OneScreen.ai guys for resharing the podcast and giving us some good feedback on it this past week. So thanks, guys, and hopefully see you guys at Retail Loco as well. All right. Take care.
Bye.